You know, when you invest your money, your hard-earned cash, it kind of enters this hidden world, a place with all these complex systems and rules. And you got to wonder, who's actually in your corner? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on that hidden world of investment protection right here in Canada.
I mean, that's the big question, right? You've worked so hard for your money, you've saved it up, and now you're supposed to just hand it over to someone? That takes a huge leap of faith. So, how can you really be sure your money is safe?
All right, so to really get into this, let's imagine a typical investor. We'll call her Jane. So Jane's got some savings, right? And she wants to invest in a mutual fund, but she's a little nervous. She wants to know who's making the rules, who's actually enforcing them. Her journey? Well, that's going to be our journey today.
So the good news for Jane, and for all of us really, is that you're not just tossing your money into some kind of Wild West. It's not a lawless frontier. There is an entire ecosystem, a whole system of regulators and rules. Think of it like a multi-layered defense system, built specifically to protect investors like you from anything unfair, improper, or even fraudulent.
Okay, so a great way to think about this system is like a team of financial guardians, and each one has a very specific job. See, it's not just one single watchdog. Nope, there are several, all working at different levels just to keep the market fair and keep investors like us safe. So you ready? Let's meet the key players. First up, you've got the provincial securities commissions. These guys are the boots on the ground, the local regulators. Every single province and territory has one, and believe me, they hold the power. They set the local rules of the game. And more importantly, they're the ones who can grant or snatch away the license for anyone, including Jane's potential advisor, to sell investments in their area.
So, okay, you might be thinking, if every province has its own regulator, how does anything stay consistent? Couldn't that get super messy? Well, that's exactly where the Canadian Securities Administrators, or the CSA, steps in. Now, it's not a regulator itself. Think of it more like the team captain. Its job is to get all the provincial players to huddle up and agree on one single, harmonized rulebook for the entire country.
All right, so we've got the government rule makers, but what about the industry itself? I mean, shouldn't they have some skin in the game? Well, they do. That's the role of what's called a self-regulatory organization, or an SRO. And since our investor, Jane, is looking at mutual funds, this one is super important for her. The Mutual Fund Dealers Association, the MFDA, is basically the dedicated referee for all mutual fund dealers outside of Quebec. It sets the standards and makes sure its members are playing by the rules.
So here's the key takeaway, right? These guardians, they don't work in silos. They work together. You've got the provincial commissions acting like the local cops on the beat. The CSA is the captain, making sure the laws are the same for everyone, everywhere. And the MFDA is like the professional league, making sure its own players, its members, are following the rulebook. It's a whole system of checks and balances.
Okay, so we've met the big organizations, the guardians watching from above. But what does all this actually mean for the person you're sitting across the table from, your financial advisor? Let's zoom in a bit and look at the advisor's rulebook to see how this all plays out in their day-to-day job.
This right here is the absolute heart of it all. It comes straight from the MFDA's own rulebook, and it's called the Standard of Conduct. And it's not some vague piece of advice. It is a direct command. An advisor must, not should, but must, deal fairly, honestly, and in good faith. This is the ethical bedrock, the foundation of the whole client-advisor relationship.
And let's be crystal clear here. This isn't just a friendly suggestion. It's not a best practice guideline. This standard of conduct is a binding rule. It's the law for them. And if they violate it, well, that can lead to huge fines, suspension, or even losing their license to sell investments altogether. So yeah, it has some serious teeth.
So how does an advisor actually live up to that high standard every single day? Well, it all comes down to a process called suitability, and it basically has 3 key steps. First, they have to know your client, or KYC. That means they have to understand your unique financial situation, how you feel about risk, what your goals are. Second, they have to know your product, or KYP. They need to be an absolute expert on the investments they're recommending. And then the final most important step, they have to make the right match. They have to make sure that the investment is suitable for you, putting your interests first, always. All right, but we're not done yet. Beyond the rules that your advisor has to follow, there's another bigger layer of protection. Think of these as invisible financial shields. These are broad, powerful laws that protect the entire financial system from crime and also protect your personal data.
Yeah, you might never see these laws or interact with them directly, but trust me, they are working in the background 24/7. They're designed to fight huge threats, stuff like money laundering, and to guard one of your most valuable assets, your personal information.
Have you ever wondered why depositing a big chunk of cash at the bank can sometimes feel like a whole thing? Well, it's because of this number, $10,000. See, under Canada's anti-money laundering laws, any cash transaction of 10 grand or more has to be reported by the bank to a government agency called FinTrack. It's a really key tool they use to spot and stop the flow of illegal money.
And what about your privacy? I mean, you're sharing some really sensitive stuff with your advisor. While Canada's private sector privacy law, called PPIDA, lays down some really strict rules. Your advisor can't just do whatever they want with your information. Things like your income, your age, even your personal opinions, that's all legally protected. Now, your basic business card info, name, title, work address, that's generally not covered. But this law makes sure all your sensitive data is collected only with your permission and kept super secure.
Okay, so even with all these rules and all these guardians, let's be real. Sometimes disputes happen. So what happens when you and your investment firm just cannot see eye to eye? Where do you go for help if you don't want to hire a lawyer and get into a whole court battle? Well, that's where OBSI comes in, the Ombudsman for Banking Services and Investments. Think of it as an independent and totally impartial referee. It's not a regulator. It's a free service that helps resolve these kinds of disputes. If you have a complaint you can't sort out with your firm, OBSI will step in, investigate, and help find a fair solution. And here's the best part. All dealers have to be members. It's not optional.
And don't think OBSI is just making suggestions. It has real influence. Now, it can't force a firm to pay up, but it can recommend a settlement for a client of up to $350,000. And honestly, any firm that refuses to follow what OBSI recommends has to face the music publicly, and that's a huge incentive to do the right thing.
So, look at everything we've covered. There's this deep, multi-layered system designed to protect you. You've got provincial regulators, industry watchdogs, ethical codes, federal laws. There is literally a whole team watching your money. So for investor Jane and for you, the system isn't just built on hoping you can trust someone. It's built on solid rules. And that leaves us with one final, really important thought. Knowing that this whole system exists, the real question isn't just who you can trust. The real question is, are you asking the right questions?